Alright. Ito muna, no? Lateral muna tayo. Now, the first thing you should identify is that one that runs laterally. No? Kasi it's called the lateral sylvian fissure. Okay? That's the first one you have to identify. Now, notice that once you see the fissure running outward in may opening, that will be the anterior aspect of your cerebrum. So, yun na agad. You know already that's anterior. And when it does not open, of course, that is your posterior aspect. Yun na agad ang clue nyo. Kasi pag hinawakan nyo yung cerebrum, kalahati lang, ay, alin na harap dito, alin na likod. So, that's the clue, your lateral sylvian fissure. Then the next thing you have to identify is the central sulcus. The central sulcus is usually almost at the center on top. So you see it on top here, usually almost at the center. And the clue is that running beside it are two vertically running gyri. These are the only two vertically running gyri. The only two. So here you have your central sulcus. So the gyrus before it is of course pre-central. No? You know, when you say pre, that means before. And then the one behind it is post-central. Kasi ibig sabihin ng post naman is after. Diba? So that's the clue. Pag pre, before, pag post, after. Now, so you have, yun yung mga tawag sa gyrus. And of course, the divider here, no, for your gyrus is supposed to be your pre-central sulcus. Anyway, that's beside the point. So, this is central sulcus, this is lateral sylvian, and then here behind, you won't see it on the lateral view, but more on the medial aspect, sa loob. May makikita rin kayong divider na papaganon sa mas mababa. Sorry, mas mababa. Oh, yes, that is correct. And you call that parieto-occipital fissure. Okay? So, yan po. These are the things you have to identify. Now, with these fissures, you can now divide your cerebrum into the lobes. Now, the lobes are actually correspond to the bones of the skull. No? You have frontal, temporal, parietal, and occipital. So, paano yun? In front of the central, above the lateral, is frontal lobe. Diba? Behind the central, in front of the parieto-occipital, syempre, parietal lobe. Okay? Now, below lateral sylvian, this is temporal lobe. And then, of course, this one, the parieto-occipital, if you connect it with a shallow depression here below, tawag doon parieto-occipital notch, dalawa actually yun eh, isang superior, isang inferior, this is now your occipital. Okay tayo. So, nakita na natin lahat ng lobes ng cerebrum. Now, neuroanatomically, we usually say there is a fifth lobe. The fifth lobe can be seen if you open up your lateral sylvian. Bukahin yung konti. May makikita kayong parang mabilog sa loob. That is your insula. No? Or what we call your island of Rayleigh. Okay? So, tawag doon, insula sa loob. Tingnan niya, try niyang buksan. Makita niya may structure pa doon sa loob niya. Sa ilan dyan. Siyempre sa specimen. Okay. Anyway, so let's look now at the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe has three sulci. Ano po yung mga sulci niya? Pre-central, and then you have two running horizontally. Ano po yung two running horizontally? So, superior frontal sulcus, inferior frontal sulcus, which divides now your frontal lobe into gyri. Okay, so syempre, superior frontal gyrus, middle frontal gyrus, and inferior frontal gyrus. Ganun lang, di ba? Alam naman, madali naman eh. Huwag lang kayo magkakamali pag sulcus or gyrus. Kayo minsan na problema eh. Sabi nyo guys, dapat sulcus. Okay? Anyway, before we leave the inferior frontal gyrus, there are three parts that are important here, related to your lateral sylvian fissure. Now, let me just tell you, iba-iba po ang kulubot ng brain, ha? These are just, kumbaga, parang susundan ninyo. Kasi minsan makikita nyo ito, hindi naman parang nagtutuloy na gyrus. No? Basta makikita lang nyo, running downwards. Okay, so ayan. Kasi dito, there are usually 3 more indentations. Tawag natin lateral sylvian rami. O ramus, pag isa. So one is the anterior horizontal ramus. Another is the anterior ascending ramus. And finally, you have a posterior ramus. Related to the rami are 3 parts, or what we call pars. Below, or more anterior to the anterior horizontal, is your pars orbitalis. Orbital. Okay, pars orbitalis. And then you have a triangular part, kaya triangularis. So tama siya. And the last part is your pars opercularis. Okay, so auto. Orbitalis, triangularis, opercularis. Now here in this part, the first thing you identify yung triangular. Hindi niyo mamimiss parati yung triangular part. Pag nakita yung triangular part, triangularis na yun. Diba? Tapos yung in front of it, orbitalis. Behind that, opercularis. Ba't ko tinuturo to? Kasi importante ito. Yung triangularis kasi parang V talaga yan. Yung kalahati niya, the posterior half, plus opercularis is what we call Broca's area. Tawag po dito sa dalawang to part na to. Broca's area or area 4445. So ayan po, no? So it's important that you be able to identify this part. Alright, so ito na po yung frontal lobe. Let's go parietal. So sa parietal, you have your postcentral gyrus, and of course this is your postcentral sulcus. Let's only add one other sulcus horizontally. You call that your intraparietal sulcus. Intra, within. Intraparietal, isa lang. Dividing your parietal lobe into a superior parietal gyrus and an inferior parietal gyrus. Okay tayo? Yes. Now, one related to your parietal, if you follow your lateral sylvian posteriorly, you will find a gyrus running around like so. We call that supramarginal. That is your supramarginal gyrus. Now, may kasunod pa yan. Dito muna tayo. Sa temporal lobe, you only have 2 sulci. Dalawa lang. So, superior temporal sulcus, inferior temporal sulcus. Meron tayong superior temporal gyrus, middle temporal gyrus, and you have your inferior temporal gyrus. Tayo? Ngayon, sundan natin to. If you follow your superior temporal sulcus behind, merong kababa nito or kadikit niyan, basta ka galing dito, sundan nyo yan. This is now your angular. Okay, angular gyrus. Okay. Now the occipital lobe, you won't see so much on this view. The best is the things that you will look for in the occipital lobe is best seen on the medial view. Okay? So tingin tayo sa medial. Paraan. Burahin na lang natin. Later natin. Sige. Dito naman po.
Hi. Hi. Gijo, hello. Hi.
Aray ko. Burahin na lang natin.
Wala ka niya yun. Nakita mo ba? Hi. Sabihin mo muna. Hi ka. Hindi ako top. Jody. Hindi nga siya top 10, top 11. Kasi naubos ba?
Oh, lapit na kayo dito. Mahiya.
Grabe ka.
So, ito naman,
Inuuna mo ba
tayo
yun?
ulit sa medial view. Okay. Ano naman identify natin dito? The first thing you will see is a round structure at the center. So, mukhang itlog? That is your thalamus. And then underneath the thalamus niya parang ganun, that is your thalamus.
Ayaw mo
So hindi natin concern yan. We just use it as landmark because that is your diencephalon. We have not yet discussed that. Diba? Anyway, on top of the thalamus, superior to the thalamus, you will see a solid white structure. Yes, that is your corpus callosum. Now, corpus callosum is not gray matter, it's actually white matter. In fact, it's described as the largest commissural white matter. Okay, the largest commissural cerebral white matter. Okay? By the way, we have 3 white matter: commissural, association, and projection. Alam niyo na yon. So, yan yan. Ay, hindi pa niya ata alam. No. Corpus callosum. Okay. Corpus callosum. There is a sulcus on top of that. Sa ibang libro, it's called callosal sulcus. In some books, I believe netter, we call that subcallosal sulcus. Okay? So, subcallosal or callosal sulcus. Para kay corpus callosum, kaya callosal. Now, above corpus callosum, there is a gyrus. Yan. So, that is your cingulate. So, si cingulate gyrus. So, syempre, meron ding sulcus, si cingulate. We call that sulcus cinguli or cingulate sulcus. Okay. Ngayon, ito tayo sa taas. Sa taas, may makikita kayong structure na paganyan. If you, to confirm that this is paracentral lobule, you're correct, this is paracentral lobule. Yan. You call that your paracentral, meaning around central. Kasi pag para ma-confirm nyo, balikan nyo yung central sulcus nyo, makita nyo central sulcus nyo, nakaganyan dyan. Meron siyang part doon. So, i-confirm nyo na paracentral yun. Makikita nyo, nasa gitna niya si central sulcus. Okay. Ngayon, what are these 2 indentations? The front one, that is the precentral. And the one behind is marginal sulcus. Wala to kay netter. Tandaan nyo to. Marginal sulcus. Meron na kay Dr. Bibar. Okay. Marginal sulcus, precentral sulcus, and the one in front is medial frontal. Sabi sa akin, bakit hindi superior frontal? Eh, wala nang inferior at saka middle dito, di ba? And since it's on the medial aspect, kaya medial frontal. That is how Netter named it, by the way. By action, gusto na rin sabihin sa inyo, that is your supplementary motor cortex. Nasa manual yata to, pero what is the supplementary cortex? It's involved with the sequence of bilateral movements. Kunyari, nagmamarcha kayo, 1, 2, diba? Sequence of bilateral movements. Yun, siya yun. Okay? Now, let's go look at your paracentral. Behind the marginal, again, you will identify your parieto-occipital. Sabi ko sa inyo, it's best to look for it here. Para malaman yung parieto-occipital siya, makikita nyo may ka-triangle siya. Correct. Ka-triangle niya is calcarine sulcus. Calcarine sulcus, you'll not miss that. That is actually the lowest sulcus on that area. Okay? And the remaining, so this one, this area, the triangular area is called cuneus, and the area between marginal and pre-occipital is precuneus. Tapos yung nandito na sa baba, isa-isa na lang na gyrus yun, that is your lingual gyrus. Okay. So most of you have already seen this. Okay tayo? So madali lang ang medial. Now let's look at the inferior aspect. Tignan nyo sa ilalim. Ngayon, ito naman sa ilalim. Yung harap muna. So, ito yung longitudinal, di ba? Yung interhemispheric fissure nyo, correct? Identify first a longitudinal structure with a dilatation anteriorly. That is your olfactory tract and bulb. Okay? Olfactory tract and olfactory bulb. Ngayon, yung olfactory tract and olfactory bulb nakalubog sa sulcus. So, ang tawag siyempre, olfactory sulcus. Okay? Now, you have a gyrus medial to that. That is your straight gyrus. The rest is orbital. Orbital gyri. Yung orbital gyri nyo, kaya gyri kasi maraming sulci. Kaya orbital sulci. Mga 2 sulci yata yun. 2 orbital sulci. And of course, the rest are orbital gyri in between. Okay tayo? So, lateral to the olfactory orbital gyri, medial near the hemisphere, longitudinal hemisphere, fissure pala, sorry, is straight gyrus. Okay tayo dyan? So, tayo sa ilalim. Longitudinal ulit. Okay, tama. Longitudinal ulit. Madali lang to. 3 lang gyrus dito. Kunin muna natin yung pinaka-medial. The most medial is called parahippocampal. Parahippocampal gyrus. If you follow your parahippocampal gyrus, you will find out that it has parang a hook-like structure. Yung hook-like structure is your punctus. That is important because that is your primary olfactory cortex. Oh, diyan kayo unang makaka-amoy. Okay? No, that is not 30. Parang 23. Ay, 23 o 28? 28 yata. Ah! 34? Sige, hanapin nyo. Kasi parang wala palang number yung uncus, yung association pala meron. Anyway, so uncus, parahippocampal, yung tapos these two are your occipitotemporal gyri. Occipitotemporal. Yung isa sa may malapit sa gitna, syempre medial, yung nandito sa gilid, lateral. Okay ba? The divider between parahippocampal and occipitotemporal medial is your collateral sulcus. So yun ha, collateral sulcus. Between the two, the medial and the lateral, occipitotemporal sulcus. Okay, now one other thing, last thing. If you look at your occipitotemporal lateral sa ilalim, pag tinignan mo siya sa gilid, sa lateral, siya rin sa inferior temporal. Kaya, kahit yan, tinuturo ko na sa inyo kasi ako nahirapan din nung hinahanap ko siya. Siya rin pala yun. Okay? So, when you look at it laterally, on lateral view, it's called inferior temporal, but when you look at it inferiorly, it's already your occipitotemporal lateral. Okay? Any questions? So, try to look for this first in the model, of course. But even the model is deceiving. And then later, hindi kayo mawala if you look first at the landmarks. First, Sylvian. Second, central. Tapos, parieto-occipital. Tapos, si calcarine. Do not miss calcarine. Okay?
Yes. Thank you, Doc.
Next time, I will tell you about Brodmann.
Sige.